Hi everyone, we're Mimicker, here to introduce all kinds of knowledge, even the stuff we didn't know about.
And we are back with a really massive deep dive today. One that honestly touches pretty much everyone who owns a smartphone.
It really does. I was actually looking back at our notes from episode 58 recently. Do you remember when we talked about the threat effect?
Oh, yeah. We were totally geeking out about the Intrasgraph algorithm that week.
We were. We were so optimistic. We were talking about that stranger bonus, right? The whole idea that these new apps would break us out of our echo chambers and just connect us with people we'd never meet otherwise.
Right, the hopeful digital cocktail
Oh,
partner.
exactly, like a party where everyone is actually interested in what you have to say.
Is a really nice thought. But as with most things in the tech world, there is a pretty severe flip side to that coin.
Yeah.
That same low threshold for sharing, just the ease with which you can shout something out to the world, combined with what researchers call cross-layer diffusion, it has a much starker application.
Right. And that is exactly where we are heading today. We're looking at the sources for this deep dive, and frankly, the vibe has shifted.
A lot.
Because the sources reveal that while connecting strangers is great, the algorithms that power these platforms have a very specific appetite. They aren't just looking for connection. They prioritize high-arousal content.
And just to be clear for the listener, high arousal in psychology doesn't mean, well, what you might immediately think.
No, get your mind out of the gutter. We are talking about anger, disgust, and moral violation.
Exactly. The algorithm wants engagement, and nothing drives engagement quite like a fight.
So today, we are stepping into the digital coliseum. Our mission is to understand the forces behind online firestorms and cancel culture.
Why we swarm like hungry ants to abduct others online.
Yeah. Is it just bad behavior? Or is it biology and algorithms working together to basically hack our brains?
It's a combination of both. And I have to say, the deeper we get into the neuroscience of this, the more unsettling it becomes.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because I think we all have a general idea of what this looks like. We've all seen a massive pile on social media.
Sure.
But before we get to the brain science, which, spoiler alert, is terrifying, we need to get our definition straight. We hear terms like cancel culture thrown around constantly as political insults, but what do they actually mean in a research context?
That is a great place to start. The sources actually distinguish between a few key terms that often just get clumped together in the media. First, we have the online firestorm.
Which honestly sounds like a bad weather report.
It's not far off. An online firestorm isn't just getting a few mean comments because you posted a bad take. This is a sudden, explosive, highly aggressive wave of emotion and insults.
It happens fast, right?
Incredibly fast, often within hours. And the volume is just overwhelming. It's like a flash flood of hate.
Okay, so that's the mechanism. That's the weather event. What about the intent behind it?
That brings us to cancel culture. Now, academically, this is categorized as a form of character assassination. And the distinction here is super important. The goal isn't just to criticize someone's opinion or debate them. The goal is social exclusion.
So it's not, hey, I disagree with what you said. It's, you shouldn't be allowed to speak here anymore.
Precisely. It is about removing the person from the public sphere completely. And this often overlaps with digital vigilantism.
Which is what exactly?
This is where regular citizens act as judge, jury, and executioner. They bypass the legal system entirely to punish what they perceive as a violation of social norms.
It really sounds like the Wild West, but with Wi-Fi.
It is, but with a global reach. And I want to point out something crucial from the source material. While this phenomenon started heavily around social justice issues, race, gender, family structures, it has completely morphed.
It's everywhere now.
Yes. It is now a weapon used aggressively by all political sides. Left, right, center, nobody is safe.
So it has moved from just simple rejection to what the text calls the total destruction of the individual's future.
Total destruction.
That is heavy.
Yeah.
But here's the million-dollar question for you, and this is the one that really keeps me up at night. Why do we do it?
The motivation.
Right. I know people who are genuinely nice, quiet, polite people in real life. They hold doors open for strangers. They rescue stray cats. But you put a keyboard in front of them and they turn into vicious attackers. What is going on there?
This is where sociology gives us a fascinating answer. It really comes down to the price of justice. In sociology, there's a concept called the second-order public good dilemma.
Okay, you're getting academic on me. Break that down for us.
Let's use a real-world example. Picture yourself at the airport. You're waiting to board. You're in group 4.
Okay, I'm with you.
Suddenly, a guy clearly holding a Group 9 ticket tries to sneak into the Group 1 lane right in front of the desk.
Oh, I hate that guy. My blood pressure is rising just thinking about him.
We all hate him. He is breaking the social contract. But, and be honest here, do you walk up to him, tap him on the shoulder, and scream, "You are a moral failure," in his face?
No way. Never.
Why not?
Well, it's risky. He might yell back. He might be crazy. He might punch me in the face. And honestly, everyone else might look at me like I'm the one causing a scene.
Exactly. That is high-cost punishment. The social friction and the physical risk are simply too high. So, you become a free rider. You stand there, you seethe quietly, maybe you roll your eyes at the person next to you, but you let it slide because the cost of punishing him is too high.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
Right. Now switch to the internet. We have the low-cost hypothesis. The cost of punishing someone on social media is near zero.
There is no physical threat.
None. You are sitting on your couch, maybe in your pajamas. You can destroy that person's day, maybe even their career with one thumb, and there is zero risk of getting punched in the nose.
It's discount justice.
It really is. And there's another layer here. The lack of nonverbal cues. You can't see their face. You don't see them cry or look hurt. The sources describe this as the village effect.
The village effect, meaning everyone is in everyone's business.
Exactly. Digital platforms recreate a global village where everyone watches everyone, but without the empathy or the real relationships of an actual physical village. It allows for what's called multilateral costly punishment. It is cheap for the attacker, but devastatingly expensive for the victim.
I pay nothing, but you lose everything. But surely people don't just do it because it's cheap. I mean, I can eat dirt for free, but I don't do it. There has to be an actual internal motivation driving them to the keyboard.
Well, there is. Research shows that attackers often feel a profound sense of moral superiority.
Wait, hang on. I have to push back on that. The whole internet adage is don't feed the trolls, right?
Right.
We always assume trolls are these faceless, anonymous accounts just looking for chaos and anarchy. You're saying it's actually about morality.
For many, yes. In fact, the data we collect shows that non-anonymous users, people using their real names, their faces, their LinkedIn profiles, are often more aggressive than anonymous ones.
Really? That feels totally backward. I thought anonymity was the ultimate fuel for bad behavior.
It is for chaos trolls. But for the moral warriors, using your real name is part of the point. They want the social credit. They want their peers to see them punishing the bad guy.
Ah, okay, so it's, look at me, look how good I am because I'm yelling at the bad thing.
Exactly. It validates their status within their own social group.
That makes a lot of sense. But speaking of groups, let's talk about the mob mentality aspect.
Yeah.
Because we always hear that people just lose their minds in a mob. Is that what's happening? Are we just turning into mindless zombies?
Not exactly. That's the older theory that anonymity makes people lose their self-awareness entirely. But the modern understanding is based on the SIDE model.
SIDE model, is that an acronym?
Yes, it stands for the social identity model of Deindividuation Effects.
That is a mouthful. What does it actually mean in practice?
It argues that you don't lose your identity. You shift it. You move from a personal identity to a social identity. Think about it like a sports fan.
Okay.
When you're at the stadium wearing your team's jersey, you stop seeing yourself as John, the accountant who likes jazz. You see yourself solely as a representative of the team.
Right. And if the referee makes a bad call against us, I'm not mad as John, I'm mad as the fan.
Exactly. This is called depersonalization. You stop seeing yourself as an individual, but more importantly, you stop seeing the victim as a person. They become just a symbol of the outgroup, a symbol of the opposing team.
And symbols are way easier to attack than real people. You don't feel bad about tearing down a flag.
Precisely. And this leads to hyperconformity. If the group norm is, we attack this type of person, you don't just follow along. You conform strictly to that norm to prove your absolute loyalty.
So paradoxically, the internet, which we usually think of as this ultimate place for individual expression, actually makes us more likely to follow the herd.
Correct. It suppresses independent thought in favor of group cohesion. You aren't a zombie. You're a soldier following orders you genuinely believe are just.
Okay, so we have the sociology of low cost and the psychology of the soldier mindset. But here is where it gets really interesting. And honestly, the sources here made my stomach drop a little bit. We need to talk about the biology. We're literally addicted to outrage, aren't we?
We are. This is where the conversation shifts to the mesolimbic dopamine system.
The pleasure center.
The reward loop. When you express moral outrage online, you post that angry comment, you quote tweet someone with a sick burn, and then you get likes, retweets, and supportive comments. Your brain's VTA, the ventral tegmental area, and the nucleus accumbens release dopamine.
It literally feels physically good to be angry together.
It feels immensely rewarding.
Oh.
And social media platforms know this. They utilize a variable reinforcement pattern.
That's the slot machine mechanic, right? You pull the lever, and you don't know if you'll win, so you just keep pulling.
Exactly. The rewards, the notifications, come unpredictably. That is the most addictive pattern known to psychology. But here is the most startling insight from our source material today, and I want you to really listen to this. Chronic exposure to this digital rage actually causes neural pruning.
Pruning. That sounds destructive. Like gardening, but in your brain.
It's exactly like gardening. Your brain is hyper-efficient. If you stop using a pathway, the brain cuts it to save energy. When your brain is constantly flooded with high dopamine from these rage cycles, it tries to protect itself. It physically reduces the number of dopamine receptors. It adapts to the flood.
Okay, so what does that actually mean for my daily life?
It means you become desensitized. You become less sensitive to natural joys. A sunset at a nice meal, a quiet conversation with a friend, reading a book. These things release low levels of dopamine. But if your brain has pruned its receptors to handle the high-voltage shocks of Twitter rage, those quiet moments simply don't register anymore.
Wait, so we aren't just getting addicted to the anger. We're physically losing the hardware required to enjoy peace.
That is the implication. You become physiologically dependent on the high-stimulation digital environment just to feel anything at all.
That is horrifying. We are terraforming our own brains to only be able to live in the firestorm.
And it gets worse. This pruning heavily impacts the prefrontal cortex. That's the part of the brain responsible for impulse control and emotional regulation.
So we get angrier, more addicted, and progressively less capable of stopping ourselves.
It is a vicious cycle. The more you engage in firestorms, the less you are biologically capable of resisting the next one. You literally lose the brakes on your car.
That explains so much about the state of the world right now. Feels like everyone is driving around at 100 miles an hour with no brakes.
It really does.
But we can't just blame our brains. We have to look at the machine we're plugged into. You mentioned the MID model earlier. What is that?
The MAD-B model stands for motivation, attention, and design. It explains why this content spreads so fast. We have the motivation, which is that group identity we talked about. We have the attention because we are wired to notice threats. But the key is design.
The algorithm.
The algorithm. The data we collect shows that on platforms like X, adding a moral emotional word to a post increases its retweet rate significantly.
What kind of words are we talking about?
Words like evil, shame, sacred, or duty.
Is there a number on that? How much does it actually help?
It increases the retweet rate by 19 to 20% per word.
That is a massive boost.
Right.
So if I just sprinkle the word shame into my tweet, I get 20% more engagement.
Essentially, yes. This is called moral contagion. Unlike yawning, which is a physical contagion, this is information-based. We use other people's anger as a heuristic, a shortcut, to judge a complex situation.
Right, because we don't have time to research everything. So if I see everyone else is angry, I assume I should be angry too.
Exactly. And because algorithms are designed to maximize time on site, they prioritize this anger fuel. But, and this is key, it only spreads within your group. Liberal anger spreads to liberals. Conservative anger spreads to conservatives. It rarely crosses the lines.
So you get these hyper-sealed echo chambers that are just boiling over with rage against the other side, leading to extreme polarization. There was a line in the notes that stuck with me. The data we collect shows the algorithm loves a fight. It's not neutral. It's an active accelerant.
It absolutely is an accelerant.
So let's look at the battlefield itself. We're in the Colosseum. The crowd is roaring. The algorithm is feeding us lions. How is this war actually fought? The source material breaks down the tactics of war, and it reads almost like a video game strategy guide.
It is structured like a game of role construction. The attackers use 3 main weapons to define the target. First is labeling. You assign a nasty tag to the target. Racist, misogynist, traitor, snowflake. It sticks.
Simple, effective branding.
Second is ridicule. Memes, humor, mockery. This is crucial because it strips the target of their dignity. It's very hard to defend yourself when thousands of people are laughing at you.
Right, it turns you into a joke. It fundamentally dehumanizes you.
And third is identity denial. This is the nuclear option. It's saying the person doesn't belong in civilized society at all. They are fundamentally broken.
And what about the defense? If I'm getting attacked, what do? Do I apologize? Do I fight back?
The sources identify strategies like minimizing saying it was just a joke, or attacking the accuser by saying they are too sensitive, or even transcendence, pivoting to free speech. But the problem is, in this environment, defense rarely works.
Why not?
Because the goal of modern online shaming isn't correction, it's destruction. The experts distinguish between reintegrative shaming, which we see in some traditional cultures, where you punish someone but then bring them back into the fold, versus modern disintegrative shaming.
Punish and destroy forever.
Exactly. And the biggest casualty here isn't even the person getting canceled, it's the public sphere itself. It creates a massive chilling effect.
Because everyone else is watching the execution.
Everyone is watching, and they learn a lesson. If I speak, I might be next. The sources actually reference John Stuart Mill here. He warned about this centuries ago. He said social sanctions can smooth away all edges of personality, leading to a mediocre uniformity. We become bland because we are terrified.
We flatten ourselves just to fit through the narrow door of acceptable opinion. That is deeply depressing. And speaking of forever, let's talk about the digital tattoo. Because unlike the village square where gossip eventually fades over time, the internet never forgets.
This is the legal frontier, the right to be forgotten.
I've heard of this. This is mostly a European thing, right?
Mostly, yes. Back in 2014, European courts ruled that individuals can ask search engines to remove links that are outdated or irrelevant. It's an attempt to protect privacy and reputation, to let people actually move on from past mistakes.
But not in North America.
It's much harder here. In the US and Canada, there is huge resistance based on freedom of speech and the public right to know. The argument is that erasing the past is a form of censorship.
I get the free speech argument, I really do. But the human cost is staggering. The sources mention PTSD, severe anxiety.
It is severe. The current system leaves victims with ruined careers and psychological trauma, often without any real due process. It is a sentence without a trial, and the record of your crime stays on the front page of Google forever. Imagine if everything you did when you were 19 was tattooed on your forehead. That's the internet.
It really makes you think about the sheer power we hold in our pockets. We are walking around with these devices that can connect us to the entire world, but we're using them to hunt each other.
It does. It requires a lot of self-reflection.
So let's try to summarize this deep dive for you all. We are essentially looking at an ant colony effect in 4 distinct stages. First, the trigger. Something gets posted. Second, polarization. The algorithm and our group identity kick in. Third, assassination. The swarm attacks to destroy the target. And fourth, the long-term chilling effect. Silence and fear.
That is the cycle, perfectly summarized.
It's a lot to process. Honestly, it makes me want to throw my phone in a lake and go live in a cave.
That might not be the worst idea.
But since we can't all do that, what is the ultimate takeaway here?
I think the most important takeaway is to recognize the mismatch. We are acting out ancient tribal instincts, shame, exclusion, hunting the rule breaker, but we are doing it using godlike technology. We are wielding nuclear weapons of reputation destruction, often over incredibly minor infractions.
We're cavemen with laser guns.
Precisely. And if we don't realize that our brains are being physically pruned for outrage, that we are losing our actual biological hardware for nuance and joy, then we really are just programmed ants in the system.
So maybe the most rebellious thing you can do on the internet today is to just pause. Don't engage. The ultimate rebellion is silence. Refusing to let your dopamine system be hacked and refusing to join the swarm. That is a provocative thought I'm going to be sitting with for a long time. Thanks for tuning into this episode. If you enjoyed our content, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and turn on the notification bell. See you guys.